Welcome to the deep dive, where we plunge into the ideas shaping our world, sometimes, before they've even fully arrived.
And today's idea is definitely one of those big
It
ones.
really is. Today, we're going to reflect on something truly profound. Just how rapidly our world is changing. I mean, not just technologically, but economically, socially.
Mhm.
Everything feels like it's accelerating.
It really does. We're sort of standing on the edge of this massive shift, right? Driven by AI automation.
Exactly. And it's forcing us to completely rethink these age-old concepts, like what does work even mean anymore? What is value in this new context?
It's an acceleration unlike anything we've really seen before. I mean, things that felt like science fiction just a few years ago are now, well, there were practical questions about how we organize society. It challenges all the basic assumptions.
Absolutely. So today, we're not just dipping our toes in, we're diving deep, really deep, into a fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty radical vision for the future. It's built around this reimagined idea of an unconditional basic income, or UBI, but linked to a whole societal framework they call electric technocracy.
Electric technocracy. Okay, that sounds significant.
Right. And this isn't just tweaking the welfare system. The source material we're looking at today flat out calls it a new form of civilization.
Wow. Okay, that's a bold claim. A new form of civilization. It definitely makes you want to dig into their reasoning, why they think our current systems are failing so badly.
That's exactly what we're going to do. Our mission today is to unpack this whole framework, drawing straight from the source, UBI, unconditional basic income, and electronic technocracy. We'll look at its origins, why they think this is necessary now.
Right, the why.
Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts, the detailed architecture, how this world is actually supposed to work.
The how.
And finally, we'll look at their really ambitious future vision, basically how it plans to totally change our relationship with work, with wealth, with how we're governed globally.
And this isn't just some academic thought experiment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if something like this actually happened, it would touch every single part of our lives. It's a paradigm shift they're talking about, not just small fixes.
Exactly. So, get ready to challenge your assumptions about how society could function, because this deep dive, it really asks us to imagine a world where the rules are just completely different. It's bold, and we're going to try and explore it from all angles.
All right, let's do it. Where do we start?
Okay, so having set that stage, the source takes us on this journey. It argues we're at a kind of crossroads of humanity, moving potentially from this age of scarcity we've always known towards one of, well, abundance.
Scarcity to abundance.
Yeah.
That's a fundamental shift.
Huge. And to really get it, they say we first need to understand what they call the end of the old logic of scarcity.
Right. And it's interesting how they go way, way back, like to the dawn of civilization. For basically all of human history, life was work, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Hunter-gatherers, constantly looking for food. The first farmers, taming animals, building walls. Work wasn't just about economics. It was like a moral thing, too. A basic survival need. If you didn't work, you were in trouble.
That constant struggle just to get by defined everything.
It really did. It got baked into our psychology, our societies. This need for resources was just constant.
And the source makes this really interesting point. Even with capitalism, industrial revolutions, all that modern stuff,
Yeah.
that basic inner logic, it didn't really go away.
How so?
Well, the surface changed, sure, but the core idea stayed.
Yeah.
Survival meant income. Wages were, the lifeblood of the whole system. And governments. They taxed human labor to pay for everything: schools, roads, armies.
Right. So people who were successful ended up paying more taxes. Others maybe relied on welfare. It kept that sort of winners and losers dynamic going, still based on human work generating the value.
Exactly. And that fostered what the source calls a constant struggle for resources. Success wasn't always celebrated. Sometimes it just bred distrust, maybe envy. It felt like a zero-sum game,
Yeah. The idea that there's only so much to go around, and if one person gets more, someone else must get less, that creates inherent unfairness, or at least the perception of it.
Which the source identifies as a fundamental flaw in this old paradigm. So, okay, trying to fix that, we get the idea of classical universal basic income, UBI. Guarantee a minimum for everyone, work or not. Sounds good, right? More fair.
On the surface, yes. It seems like a way to break that cycle of insecurity. But here's where the source makes a really key, maybe controversial argument. It says traditional UBI, even with good intentions, is fundamentally stuck in the old paradigm.
Stuck how? Because
Yeah.
of how it's funded, like higher taxes on income, wealth, consumption.
Exactly. That's the crux of their critique. By taxing the people or companies generating more wealth through human effort or capital to pay for the UBI, classical UBI, in their view, creates new injustices.
How so? Injustice how?
Well, they argue it still punishes achievement. It's still taking from one group to give to another within that same scarcity framework. It might create dependency, resentment. It's basically just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic of the old system rather than building a new ship. It's still playing by the old rules of human-generated value and taxation.
Okay, I see the distinction they're making. It's still working within the scarcity model, just redistributing differently.
Right, and that old logic of scarcity, even with attempts like classical UBI to soften it, is now, according to this source, hitting a wall, a real crisis point.
Why now? What's the big trigger?
It's because of that profound shift we mentioned. Humans are no longer the main source of value.
That's the big one, the core premise.
Absolutely. It's maybe the most radical idea in the whole thing. It's not just economic. It changes what it means to be human in this technological age. The source argues that AI, robotics, automation, it's causing this old logic to finally break down. And way more drastically than, say, the Industrial Revolution. It's hitting everything.
Can you give some examples? The source mentioned some pretty specific ones.
Oh, yeah, and they're quite stark. Think about self-driving cars potentially wiping out millions of driving jobs.
Yeah.
Truckers, taxis, delivery drivers, gone.
Right.
Or algorithms already doing tasks faster and better than whole office departments, accounting, legal research, customer service.
Yeah, you hear about that all the time.
And it's not just routine stuff. Robots replacing skilled craftspeople, doing complex surgery with more precision, even creating art or music. It's hitting skilled labor, cognitive labor, creative labor. The scope is just huge.
It really makes you stop and think the breadth of it.
And because the scale is so unprecedented, it changes the basic question we need to ask. The source says it's not, will AI destroy jobs anymore? It's become, which few jobs will actually remain?
Wow, that flips the whole script. It points to a future where human labor is the exception, not the rule.
That's the argument, that human labor gets largely supplanted in the actual creation of value.
So, if humans aren't the main source of value anymore, how does the source describe this new economic reality? What is the main source?
Well, it makes that stark claim. Humans are no longer the main source of value creation for the first time ever. Machines, AI, they work 24/7, no breaks, no wages, no getting tired or hungry.
Right, nonstop production.
And the source argues they can produce vastly more than all human labor combined ever could. The sheer potential output of automated systems just dwarfs anything from our human-centric economies.
And that massive shift has huge consequences for how governments are funded, right? Our whole tax system is built on human activity.
Precisely. If human labor isn't creating the bulk of the value, then the foundation of state revenue, the tax on human labor, essentially evaporates. It just dies.
So it's not just about individual unemployment, it's about the government potentially going broke. The whole system of funding public services collapses.
That's the argument. When machines take over value creation, our current tax systems, based on income and consumption tied to human work, they just become unsustainable, obsolete.
Okay, so that's the crisis. A potential breakdown of economics, governance, everything. What's the radical solution proposed? This is where the electric technocracy comes in.
Yes, this is where ET makes its radical break from the past. The core principle, the absolute foundation, is revolutionary. Humans become tax-free.
Humans become tax-free. That sounds, well, impossible in today's world.
Doesn't it? But that's the starting point. A complete departure from thousands of years of taxing people's work, their spending, their wealth. In this model, that burden is just lifted from individuals.
Okay, so if people aren't paying taxes, who is? Where does the money come from?
The source is clear. Only machines, corporations, and AI systems pay taxes.
Ah, okay.
So corporations still pay tax on profits, but the big shift is taxing the machines themselves. Robots, AI based on their productivity, maybe their energy use, their output. Any automated value creation gets taxed.
So you shift the tax base from human effort to machine output.
Exactly. A complete reevaluation of where value actually comes from and therefore where taxes should come from.
And the money raised from taxing all these machines, it doesn't just go into a government black box.
No, and this is crucial. The source says these revenues flow directly into a universal dynamic basic income. But here's the revolutionary part. It's not alms, but a dividend.
A dividend.
Meaning every single human gets their rightful share of the collective wealth of the machines. It's not just enough to survive. It's meant to provide genuine prosperity. It's an entitlement, a right, based on the shared machine abundance.
That's a huge difference from traditional UBI. Not charity, not a safety net, but a share. An ownership stake, almost.
Precisely. And the source really hammers this home. This UBI isn't just tweaking the old model, it signifies a new form of civilization, a total rethink of prosperity, distribution, maybe even human worth.
Okay, but if machines and maybe even superintelligence are doing all the work, physical, cognitive, everything, what's left for us? For humans? This leads to that really intriguing idea, the wishmaster.
Yeah, this is where it gets really mind-bending in a way. If machines handle all the doing, the executing, the analyzing, what's our role? The source's answer is simple but profound. Imagination.
Imagination.
Yeah. Humans become the source of ideas, of vision, of creativity. We become the wishmasters.
Wishmasters, like dreamers, storytellers, visionaries. Our job is just to have ideas.
Pretty much. Your value shifts from physical or mental labor to conceptual creation. Having the idea, the desire, the vision that becomes the peak human contribution.
That's a wild redefinition of purpose.
It is. And the source gives these really vivid, almost sci-fi examples. Like a child doodles something and an AI sees it, turns it into blueprints, and builds a whole city based on that doodle.
Wow.
Or an artist just describes a sculpture. The shape, the feeling, the light, and robots carve it perfectly from marble or create it from light itself.
Okay, I'm getting the picture.
Or a scientist dreams up a theoretical cure for cancer, just the concept, and quantum computers figure out the exact molecular solution practically overnight.
So the machines are like genies. The source calls them the jinn of ancient myths, right? Fulfilling wishes.
Exactly like that. Powerful servants. But, and this is key, the source says these jinn, these machines, do not enslave, they liberate. Their purpose is just to bring human imagination into reality. They free us from the drudgery, the limitations of making things happen ourselves.
So it's a partnership. Human dreams are the input, machine power is the output.
That's the vision.
But freeing everyone from work, from the struggle, that creates its own massive challenge, doesn't it? The source talks about the psychological revolution, finding meaning in freedom.
Oh, absolutely. This might be the deepest challenge of all. For our entire history, work wasn't just about money. It gave us purpose, a psychological anchor.
Right. Feeding your family, defending your community, curing disease.
Yeah.
Tangible goals that gave life meaning.
Exactly. So what happens when machines do all that? When the struggle itself is removed, the source asks, how do we find meaning then? On a massive societal scale.
It's a huge question. The source puts it starkly, right? Like, will we flourish in creativity or fall into boredom, a golden age, or nihilism?
Yeah, it poses that dilemma very directly. Without the structure of work and necessity, is there a real risk that humanity just drifts, loses its drive, falls into apathy or decadence? It's a genuine concern about an existential void.
It makes you think about historical parallels, moments when society had to fundamentally redefine itself. This feels like that, but global.
And the electric technocracy framework doesn't ignore this. It tries to offer an answer. It says the system replaces compulsion with freedom. But crucially, this freedom isn't passive. It demands from humanity a new narrative, a new myth.
A new myth, meaning we have to consciously create our purpose.
Yes. It's a call for a collective reevaluation. We have to actively build meaning when it's no longer forced on us by the need to survive. It's not handed to us. We have to forge it.
Which brings us back to how this ET model compares to older ideas. Let's look at that moral superiority claim. ET's UBI versus classical UBI.
Right. The source really stresses the difference. It argues classical UBI works by, essentially, taking from the successful and giving to the weak. Redistribution.
Which they see as flawed.
Yes. They frame it as potentially punishing achievement, maybe fostering dependency, causing resentment. It's still operating within that old scarcity logic, just moving money around within it. Still based on taxing human-generated wealth.
Okay. Whereas the electric technocracy, UBI,
Is fundamentally different, they argue. It takes nothing from humans but distributes the abundance of the machines. That's the key. Human effort isn't taxed to pay for it.
so it doesn't punish success in the same way.
Exactly. By distributing the wealth generated by machines, it aims to reward creativity, the wishing, and create equality without the envy or moral baggage of taking from productive individuals.
And that's the core of their moral superiority argument.
That's what they claim. The summary is clear. Humans remain free, tax-free, creative, while only the machines pay. They argue this makes it a truly new and morally better form of civilization. It taps into a new, vast source of wealth, changing the whole moral equation of distribution.
That's a powerful argument for a total paradigm shift. Okay, that leads us nicely into the second main section, really digging into the details, the architecture of the electronic paradise. And the first pillar is huge, abolishing nation states, a unified civilization.
Yeah, this one's audacious. The source calls the existence of nations the greatest barrier to a global basic income. Not technology, not economics, but politics, nations.
Borders, national identity, sovereignty, things we take for granted.
Right, for centuries they've given us identity, security, culture.
Yeah.
But the framework argues these borders are now just walls that divide.
How so?
Well, think about it. Different nations mean different tax systems, different currencies, competing interests. This patchwork makes any truly global solution impossible, they argue. National self-interest always gets in the way. You can't have a truly global UBI if every country is playing by its own rules.
So the argument is a global basic income needs global governance.
Essentially, yes. The source states flatly, a global basic income can only exist if these walls fall. National egoism, competing interests. They just dissolve any real attempt at global reform. So a unified world is seen as a prerequisite for ET.
And they actually propose a mechanism for this, something called the World Succession Deed 147098.
Yes, they mention this international treaty as the foundation.
Hmm.
Supposedly reframes humanity not as competing states, but as one unified civilization. That's a massive political and cultural jump.
What would that even mean in practice? For inequality, for identity?
Well, the source suggests huge implications. First, tax havens disappear. No separate places to hide wealth. More profoundly, the massive inequalities between rich and poor nations would supposedly vanish because everyone operates under the same system. The vision is stark. One world, one law, one shared income.
One shared income.
Yeah, it implies your birthplace no longer determines your basic economic reality. A huge shift from national identity to, well, planetary identity.
Okay, but in a world with no nations, no traditional politics, who's in charge? Who makes decisions? This brings in the role of artificial superintelligence, ASI, global advisor, not ruler.
Right. ASI is positioned right at the heart of this new order. It's the operational brain, if you like.
But explicitly not the ruler. That seems important.
Critically important. The source is very careful to define ASI's role as advice and coordination, specifically not domination. It's framed as a tool, an incredibly powerful one, but a tool for human benefit, not a silicon overlord.
So what does it actually do?
Its job is to gather and analyze enormous amounts of real-time global data, economic, environmental, social, everything. It identifies risks, imbalances, opportunities, and then develops transparent, data-backed solution proposals.
Proposals that humans then decide on.
Exactly. Humanity makes the final calls by voting on ASI's proposals in what's called a direct digital democracy, or DDD.
Direct digital democracy. How does that work?
The source highlights key features. It's open source, so anyone can check the count. Citizens can also submit their own proposals. It's not just top-down from ASI. And the voting is global, secure, and crucially, built on blockchain technology.
Blockchain. So it's transparent and tamper-proof.
That's the idea, an immutable public ledger for all decisions. It aims to build trust and eliminate centralized manipulation.
And this system, they argue, makes traditional politics obsolete. No more political parties.
That's the claim. If people decide directly based on objective data and transparent proposals from a neutral ASI, the source argues that conflicts of interest, lobbying, party politics, they just dissolve. It leads to an order without wars between parties, without dictatorships, without lobbyism. ASI is the neutral instance, helping us overcome our biases and short-sightedness.
A system that ambitious needs a radical economic engine, which brings us back to the radical tax revolution. Taxing technology, not people.
This is absolutely central. The radical tax exemption of humans. No income tax, no VAT, no wealth tax for individuals, period. Humans are tax-free.
That phrase again, it's hard to wrap your head around.
It is. It removes that centuries-old burden entirely. So the money comes from taxing corporations on profits, yes, but the big change is directly taxing the robots and AI systems based on their productivity, energy use, whatever makes sense. Automated value creation is the new tax base.
And the justification for this is moral.
Yes, they explicitly claim it's morally superior. Why? Because machines cannot feel injustice. Humans can. Taxing entities that don't experience suffering or unfairness is presented as inherently more just than taxing human beings.
Shifting the burden to the non-sentient creators of wealth. Okay. And the UBI that comes from this, it's not just survival money, right? It's a rightful dividend, not charity.
Exactly. The source stresses this over and over. It's not a safety net. It's your rightful share of the world product, your entitlement as a part owner of the global machine economy.
A share that grows.
Yes, dynamically. It's tied directly to machine productivity. The more efficient robots and ASI become, the higher the UBI rises. So individuals automatically benefit from every technological leap forward instead of being threatened by it. Your income rises with progress.
The implications are huge. No fear of poverty, direct participation in progress. Prosperity becomes an enshrined right, not luck or politics.
It fundamentally changes the game regarding economic security and dignity.
Okay, but the big question everyone asks about UBI inflation. How does this system ensure price stability in an abundant economy? Doesn't giving everyone money just make prices go up?
That's the standard fear with classical UBI, and the source tackles it directly. It argues the electric technocracy operates on a new logic that avoids this trap.
What's the new logic?
Because all humans get the same share, and crucially, new purchasing power only arises proportionally to the real productivity of machines. Money isn't just printed, it's distributed based on actual increases in goods and services created by the automated economy.
So if machines produce 10% more stuff, UBI goes up 10%. The money supply matches the real economy.
Precisely. ASI constantly monitors real output. There's no artificial monetary expansion, only the distribution of what is truly created. This direct link, they argue, prevents inflation. Money is always backed by real, newly created value.
Resulting in unprecedented price and value stability.
That's the claim. And in this world of massive machine-driven production, things like food, energy, housing, education could become nearly free because the surplus is so vast. Abundance becomes the default.
So inflation becomes the exception, not the rule, because supply constantly meets or exceeds demand, and money reflects real output.
That's the economic model, yes.
This shifts everything towards ideas. The source calls it the gin economy, ideas over possessions.
Yeah, it refines that wishmaster idea. Humans provide the creative spark, the meaning, the desire. Machines provide the flawless execution. ASI optimizes the whole thing. Humans dream, the machine fulfills, ASI optimizes.
A perfect division of labor, playing to strengths.
Exactly. Human creativity, machine precision. And because the machines can build anything, the value shifts. Ideas matter more than possessions. Your ability to imagine, to conceive, becomes a key economic driver.
Empowering every human to become a creator because the barriers to making ideas, real cost, labor, skill are largely removed by the machines.
It elevates human thought to the pinnacle.
Which ties back to the whole claim of moral superiority. Let's quickly recap why they say ET is morally better.
Okay. First, it rewards ideas, not punishing success like redistribution might. Second, humans are tax-free, giving massive personal liberty. Third, it prevents politicians or elites from hoarding wealth, thanks to DDD and ASI. Fourth, it ensures equal opportunity through shared abundance, not by taking from some for others.
And the big claim, it's the first form of society that truly unites freedom and equality, resolving that age-old tension.
That's the assertion, a very bold one.
Okay, that sets the stage for the final section, the future vision and humanity's great choice. And it starts with a mind-boggling prediction. The 100-fold leap in productivity.
Yeah, the scale here is immense. When ASI, robotics, full automation take over globally, productivity doesn't just edge up, it explodes. 100-fold increase.
100 times more productive. It's hard to even picture factories without workers, governments without bureaucrats.
A civilization running at machine speed, generating unimaginable output.
And, crucially, this growth belongs to everyone. Through the UBI, every human is a co-owner of this massive increase in wealth. It's shared prosperity, not elite enrichment.
That's fundamental to the model, which prepares us for the next stage, the technological singularity.
The big one, the greatest turning point in history, the source calls it.
Yeah, an exponential acceleration. Discoveries taking days instead of centuries. Mysteries of medicine, physics solved in minutes. Energy, agriculture, transport, perfected. It's like gaining thousands of years of future tech almost instantly.
The source uses that amazing metaphor, like an advanced alien race gifting us knowledge, but this intelligence is born from our own circuits. It's our own creation blooming.
Right, it's the culmination of our own ingenuity amplified.
But the singularity, it's inevitable maybe, but not automatically good. This is the crossroads, dystopia or paradise.
Exactly. The source warns. The tech itself is neutral. Its outcome depends on our choices now. The singularity is a crossroads.
And the bad path, the dystopia.
A small elite controls ASI, hoards the wealth, the power, The rest live in digital serfdom, maybe extended life for the few, control and fear for the many.
Grim. And the other path, paradise.
ASI is common heritage. Wealth shared via UBI. War is abolished. Creativity replaces forced work. Collective flourishing, peace, potential unlocked.
And electric technocracy is presented as the map, the model to get us to that paradise path.
Yes, the first realistic model to ensure the singularity benefits everyone, not just a few, is the proposed safeguard.
If we choose that path, we get freedom without fear, redefining human existence.
This is the individual impact. For the first time ever, survival no longer depends on labor. The basic struggle to exist is over.
No more toiling just to eat, no more competing just to survive. Basic needs guaranteed by that growing, machine-funded UBI. The rat race just stops.
Which radically shifts the core question of life. No longer how do I survive, but what do I create? From necessity to self-actualization, from obligation to purpose.
But that freedom raises the new question of meaning, a deeper dive. What do we do?
It's the big existential question again. Historically, meaning came from struggle, from necessity. When that's gone,
Do we find purpose in art, science, spirituality? Or do we risk decadence and nihilism, a society lost without a struggle?
the source acknowledges that risk. ET doesn't give meaning, but it aims to provide the foundation, the freedom, the abundance, the tools for humanity to answer that question for itself. To build a new culture around creativity and exploration.
Creating the fertile ground for us to define our own purpose?
Exactly, which leads back to humanity as co-creator, the Wishmaster's legacy.
A core role. Machines are the djinn, we are the wishmasters.
That central partnership. And it dissolves the line between imagination and reality. A thought becomes a thing. Human creativity is the engine of civilization, unconstrained by physical limit.
Ideas are the fuel.
The ultimate fuel. And the result of all this, potentially, is the return of wonder.
I like this part. How science maybe replaced religious wonder with explanation, sometimes losing the magic.
Right. But here, with ASI, wonder returns, this time as lived reality. Diseases vanishing, limitless energy, cosmic mysteries unfolding daily. The extraordinary becomes normal.
Living in a state once known only to mystics. Life in the wonder of existence. Not superstition, but awe at technologically revealed reality.
A kind of re-enchantment of the world.
And thinking about long-term futures, the source presents the contrast of eternity. Different futures.
Yeah, it contrasts his vision with others. It mentions interpretations like Trump's vision of eternal life for a few via tech, or Putin's vision of eternal power through conflict.
Both of which, the source argues, lead to a kind of slavery, exclusive immortality, or perpetual war.
That's the interpretation presented. E.T. offers a third answer. The immortality of humanity as a species. Not individual bodies or regimes, but the whole civilization enduring through abundance, creativity, cosmic expansion, collective immortality.
So the ultimate outcome of the ET path is the electronic paradise.
Not a naive utopia, the source clarifies, but a dynamic electronic civilization. Sophisticated, advanced, optimized for flourishing.
Where machines provide abundance, humans provide dreams, ASI turns dreams into reality. A harmonious system.
And it's not the end of history, but it's rebirth. A new beginning for humanity.
Which all comes down to the final decision, UBI as the hinge.
Right. The singularity is coming, that's inevitable. But paradise is not. That's chosen.
And the choice is stark. Either 10 trillion machines work for the profit of a few, or 10 trillion machines work for the freedom of all.
That's the core decision. Concentration or distribution of this immense power.
And UBI specifically, UBI, financed through AI and robotics, is presented as the hinge of the future, the mechanism deciding between digital serfdom or electronic paradise.
Its position is the absolute key.
And the source leaves us with that powerful challenge. The choice is clear. The only question is, do we have the courage to make it?
Wow. Well, we have certainly navigated a truly ambitious, really provocative blueprint today, a complete reimagining of everything economics, society, politics, all built on machine abundance and UBI as a dividend.
Yeah, a world where human creativity, freed from need, becomes the main currency. It definitely challenges everything we assume about society and value. It's not just adjusting things, it's a total overhaul they're proposing.
This deep dive really forces you, doesn't it, to think beyond just small tweaks, to consider a complete transformation. It makes you confront what AI really means, not just for jobs, but for who we are. So thinking about all this, what really stood out to you? What resonates or raises the biggest questions?
For me, It's that stark difference they draw between classical UBI and this machine-funded dividend that feels absolutely critical, shifting the funding source from taxing humans to taxing machine output. It completely changes the moral and economic basis.
Right. It's not redistribution within scarcity anymore. Exactly. It's distributing new abundance. That makes UBI feel less like welfare and more like, well, a share in the profits of our collective technological achievement. The source of the money radically changes how people might perceive it and its potential to actually liberate.
That's a great point. Okay, so as we stand right on the edge of this AI-driven future, here's a final thought to leave you with. If a system like the electric technocracy did come about, guaranteeing survival, making creativity the main point, what new meaning would you personally seek to create once you were freed from that age-old burden of necessity? It's a profound question for all of us, I think, as we head into whatever comes next.